Welcome to Survive or Thrive, a series where we see what would happen if you were permanently transported into a video game. We'll analyze 8 different aspects of the game's world and rate them on a scale of 0 to 5. At the end, we'll add them all up to figure out if you would just survive or truly thrive. Today we're going to look at what it'd be like to live in the world of Final Fantasy VII. Before we get into rating the aspects, I want to establish some core assumptions first, just so we're all on the same page. First, the world we're being put into is the world we can see while playing the game, for the most part. I'm not going to assume that Rocket Town is actually much bigger than what we see on screen. What you see is what you get. There will be a big exception to this, but I'll explain that when the time comes. And second, the world does become real to a degree. I imagine NPCs gaining some sentience, so you'd be able to hold a conversation with them. They'd have their own thoughts and want to accomplish their own goals. Food you'd obviously be able to eat. But I like to think the world would continue to look like this. Your eyes would adjust to polygonal people after a while, I promise. As for where you appear in the game, let's just say you started a new save. You've played through Final Fantasy VII a couple of times before, and you're excited to get another playthrough under your belt. You watch the opening sequence, and just as Barrett turns around, you and Cloud swap places. You're at a train station near Mako Reactor 1, and Cloud's in your room. Who knows what he'll get up to? You don't have time to think about that though. You gotta slink away and get to safety before Avalanche blows up this reactor. Well, I guess you could help them, but I'm trying to just survive. Sorry guys. At this point, the world is your oyster. You're free to go wherever you want. And one more thing before we go any further. I watch a lot of YouTube, and if you do too, you've no doubt seen a lot of ads for mobile games. If you're anything like me, it's easy to write games like those off without even giving them a try. If you're feeling adventurous though, you might want to check out Raid Shadow Legends. I know, kind of predictable as a first sponsor, but I thought, why not? Why not give this game a try and see what it's all about? For a while, I've been looking for a game that I can play on the side while doing something else. Watching a TV show, waiting at the doctor's office, maybe even playing another game. Raid Shadow Legends definitely fits the bill there. But it also has depth. There's a ton of different systems to engage with and stats to manage, so if you want to really go all in on min-maxing your champions, you can do that. And there's over 800 to collect, so you can craft the perfect team for your playstyle. From now until the 30th of this month, there's the Spring Hunt event. Log in to the Spring Hunt website to participate and potentially win a new gaming console. And if that's not enough, if you join using my link or this QR code, you'll get a ton of cool bonuses. And on top of that, use code SPRINGHUNT24 to get 10 XP brew, 100 energy, and 100,000 silver. And when you're in-game, search up my clan and join your fellow Pretizens. Games are always more fun with friends, right? Make sure to use my link below, that lets them know I sent you. Thanks to Raid, and back to the video. First up, you'll need water. Water wouldn't be too hard to come across in this world. While I can't think of a shop that sells water alongside potions and all that, there are restaurants and bars in a lot of the game's towns. Wall Market, Wutai, Costa del Sol, you'd not go thirsty in this world. Oh, and there's the water tower in Nibelheim. According to the Crisis Core Complete Guide, it catches rainwater on top and filters it for the town people. So this might not be a bad place to call home. They source the water themselves. Just hope a drought doesn't hit them too hard. 5 out of 5 for water, super simple here. Food is much the same. There's all the restaurants and bars I just mentioned you could dine at. Though I am kinda unsure about something, I want to hear your guys' perspective on this. There are places where you would be served food in this game. Places where you could presumably get burgers, salads, pizza maybe. You could find these establishments serving food all over the world. But we don't see any big-scale cow farms. There's the Chocobo Ranch, but do people eat chocobo in this world? If that's the case, where's the slaughterhouse? Where's all the transportation needed to send that raw chocobo to all the towns that need it? I don't see any semi-trucks full of chocobo corpses. Like, These bars would have enough food and drinks for a couple days when you're put into the world. But what about when they run out? Do they run out? Or does it just magically reappear? I don't know. Should I drop the rating for that? Or should I just assume that since this bar has obviously existed for longer than a couple days, that they have some background supply system figured out, and you just never see it firsthand? Right now, I'm leaning towards just assuming that's all figured out already, so I'll give the world a 5 out of 5 for food. But if you feel different, leave a comment. Maybe you'll convince me to take these worlds more literally in the next episode. Shelter is another easy one. There are inns and houses in every town. You might have trouble finding a place of your own, but hey, the world is big. I'm sure there's someone out there willing to help you out in the early days while you save up enough to live on your own. And even if you didn't want to be a homeowner, you could buy a tent from almost any shop. I will give it a 4 out of 5 though. There's not a lot of mass housing I can think of in the game. Like I can't think of any apartment buildings where you'd be sure to find somewhere to stay. I guess Midgar has a lot of tiny shacks under the plate, though living here wouldn't really be optimal. You could make do though. That's the easy stuff out of the way. This next section is the big one. Safety. Spooky monsters are a thing in this world. Magic is a thing in this world. Spooky monsters know magic in this world. By default, Gaia is already more dangerous than Earth. Though it seems like towns don't really worry about monster attacks, despite the fact that you can get random encounters really close to them. Maybe they have some good defenses set up that you can't see, or maybe monsters are content to just leave humans be in their own little settlements. If you stuck to a town, I bet you'd be pretty okay, all things considered. Unfortunately, we have a problem more existential. Sephiroth exists, and he wants to rule over the planet. His whole plan revolves around summoning Meteor, which, wouldn't bode well for this whole surviving thing. There's also Jenova, and this is where it gets kinda complicated. The Sephiroth you see for most of the game isn't physically him. It's Jenova shapeshifting to look like Sephiroth, while she's being controlled by Sephiroth. It's all weird and confusing, we don't have to go into the fine details. What matters is where we are in the story when we're put into the game, which is the very beginning. At this point, Sephiroth's actual body is in the Northern Crater, and Jenova's body is in Shinra HQ. It's when you get to the labs towards the end of the Midgar section that you see she escapes. She seemingly escapes independently of the party's actions, so she'd probably get out even if Cloud wasn't in the world to introduce Aerith to Avalanche, which is what brought them to Shinra HQ in the first place. So here's what needs to happen for Sephiroth's plan to succeed. He needs to summon Meteor. For that, he needs someone to bring him the Black Materia. For that, someone needs to obtain the Black Materia, and I think that'd be the limiting factor. Could Sephiroth have one of his clones obtain the Keystone? In the story, Cloud gives the Black Materia to one of the fake Sephiroths as soon as he obtains it. That fake Sephiroth carries it all the way to the Northern Crater and almost makes it to the real Sephiroth. Cloud ends up getting it back from them, but ends up giving it to the real Sephiroth almost immediately after. Nice one, pal. I guess the question is, did Sephiroth know that the Keystone would lead to the Temple of the Ancients, which eventually shrinks down to become the Black Materia itself? A weapon seller near Gongaga apparently had it before Dio, and even he heard rumors that it might be related to ultimate destruction magic at the Temple of the Ancients. He kinda brushes it off, but Sephiroth definitely wouldn't. Considering Dio buys the Keystone from that guy before Cloud can, Sephiroth would somehow have to get it off Dio. How he'd do that, I have no idea, but I bet he'd figure out a way. Without Cloud and the party hot on his tail, he'd have all the time in the world to figure out the specifics of the plan. So yeah, it's not looking good for the world of Gaia. Even though Cloud isn't in this world to do a lot of the heavy lifting for Sephiroth, in terms of finding and obtaining the Black Materia, I think he's a big enough boy to work it out on his own. And once he does, well, that's game over. Aerith would probably still be in the slums, just living her normal life by the time Meteor strikes, so the planet seems truly doomed. Unfortunately, I have to give the world of Gaia a 0 out of 5 for safety. Monsters don't seem to be too bothersome, but Sephiroth is a threat to all life in this world. And without Cloud to stop him, I don't think much would stand in his way. But maybe I missed something. Leave a comment if you think his plan would fail for some reason. So, in the time before the world gets smashed to smithereens, how accessible would it be? Specifically, how well would you fit into this world? Do you need to learn any new skills? Are there people you could study under? Is there room for error while you learn the ropes? That kind of thing. Gaia is pretty similar to Earth. It's not like there's any big skills you'd have to learn to get by. Using materia might be a bit difficult, but is that something the average person does in this world? I can't remember an instance of materia being used for a non-combat purpose, but it could be done, I guess. Though how does that even work? Would you have to take a course on materia usage? Real quick, regarding XP, I don't think there'd be, quote, levels in the world. I always see levels in games like this as an abstraction of a character's personal experience. So Cloud starts out weak at the beginning of the game, but towards the end of the game, he's a really high level. That represents him getting literally stronger from all the physical exertion, and him learning more advanced combat tactics. That's how I see it, at least. So you could still technically get stronger in the world as you fight more enemies, but it'd just be like getting better at fighting in the real world. Killing monsters for a living could be a path to go down, but if you're looking to just survive, maybe it's best to avoid that line of work. And considering you're just a gamer person who knows nothing about anything, like me, it might be hard to adjust to a world like this. There are a lot of things we take for granted in our world that wouldn't be available to you anymore. Thankfully, there are tons of people who speak your language. You could find people in every settlement to learn something from. I have no doubt that you could slot yourself into some societal pocket pretty well. I'll give it a 4 out of 5 for accessibility. For reference, a perfect score would be something like Grand Theft Auto 5. That game has you in a massive city with access to a cell phone, so you could just search up any question on the internet. The world is a bit more splintered in Final Fantasy VII. Towns don't feel super connected to one another. Speaking of towns being connected, how's traversability for this world? Settlements are spread out. It's rare to even see a visitable location from another on the world map here. Look, I did say in the beginning that the world you see on the screen is the world you'd experience, but I think I have to make an exception for the world map. In my soul, I just can't imagine this is literally what you'd see if you were physically in Final Fantasy VII. You'd be seeing these battle screens when you trigger a random encounter. So I don't think the world would magically shrink once you left a town. You would have to explore through forests and deserts at true scale, not whatever this is. You might feel differently about that, I don't know. I just can't justify a human being literally walking around this like it was Super Mario Galaxy or something. If that is the case, if you do experience the world at its true scale, then settlements are even further apart now. And there's no roads or anything to make travel between them easy. Your best bet would be to rent a chocobo, or pay someone to take you to the town you needed to visit. But what if no one's available? I never saw any vehicles traveling from town to town. And the Chocobo Ranch is all the way on the eastern side of the eastern continent. What if you find yourself in Rocket Town and want to get to Calm? I guess ships do exist, so maybe you could catch a boat. Still, that's a long distance. Though maybe you wouldn't have to travel that much, I don't know. Maybe you'd be happy settling down in Junon for the rest of your days. I'll give traversability a 3 out of 5. There are some options to get around, but I think if we imagine the world as the true-to-scale version, even then it won't be easy. Entertainment. I think all the aspects we've looked at have been important to surviving, but what about living? What about finding something to distract yourself from the day-to-day mundanities? This is easy, perhaps the easiest section to rate. Final Fantasy VII is known for its minigames and distractions. Snowboarding, wall market, the gold saucer? Come on, there'd be no shortage of things to look forward to and entertain yourself with. And regardless of which town you settle in, you'll find something to do with the people around you. playing cards, talking with friends, sports? That'd be cool. 5 out of 5 for entertainment. And finally, the atmosphere. This is about the vibes of the world. Is there some indescribable quality that make it a cool place to live in? Or is there something off that make you wish you were put in another game? It's tough. I'm not sure how I feel. I feel like there are some towns that seem super chill, and some that are obviously less than desirable as a place of living. I love this game. The characters, the plot, it's all so memorable to me. But do I feel super strongly either way about living in this world? Not really. 3 out of 5 for atmosphere. Perfectly middle of the road in terms of general vibes. Before we add up everything and give the game a final rating, I want to tell you the town I'd personally live in. There are a lot of nice settlements in this game. Leave a comment about the place you'd pick. I'm curious to hear what resonates with you. Me? Gongaga. Call me crazy, but I think this is the most chill village. It's nestled in the heart of a little jungle, which would definitely be problematic in the true scale version of the world, but I feel like it'd be worth it. I kinda like the idea of being just a tiny bit isolated from everyone, but still having a tight-knit group. It might be more difficult to live here than if I picked Junon or Nibelheim, but I don't know. I'm kinda feeling adventurous today. Alright, with that out of the way, let's add up everything to see the world's final survivability ranking. 5 out of 5 for water, 5 out of 5 for food, 4 out of 5 for shelter, 0 out of 5 for safety, 4 out of 5 for accessibility, 3 out of 5 for traversability, 5 out of 5 for entertainment, and a 3 out of 5 for atmosphere, leaving us with a total of 29 out of 40. Here's a spreadsheet comparing it against the worlds we've looked at so far. We're squarely between Ocarina of Time and Super Mario 64. The safety rating really did hurt the world here, but I feel like that's necessary considering we're dealing with Sephiroth. He is the ultimate enemy of safety. Outside of that though, you could do worse than living in Gaia. Check out either of these videos up next. Let me know what you think of accessibility as a category. I like thinking about how you'd learn new skills in a situation like this. Like if you were by yourself, it'd be awful. But if you could learn from someone, then it'd be a lot easier. Don't forget to check out Raid Shadow Legends using my link in the description. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.